quote. The truth, actually, let's put it properly. In the words of Taoism, there's a very interesting quote that says, true words are not beautiful, beautiful words are not true. This weekend, we'll find out if Formula One's truth is actually beautiful or not. Because we come to China with a big question looming over Formula One's head. Are these new regulations genuinely worth it? There are questions over whether Formula One should continue with this new regulation set only after one race. Questions which, to some, are existential questions, but to people like me, are just solvable problems. Lots to discuss when we get in the Chinese GP this weekend. What a big, big weekend. And we are back at the Shanghai International Circuit. This is the Inside Line F1 podcast. This is our Chinese Grand Prix preview. It's a double dhamaka weekend that way. It's double the action because we've got the sprint weekend as well. So we get to see racing two times and we get to properly evaluate Formula One this weekend. My name is Soumil Arora. Joining me as always is Kunal Shah. And it's a big, big weekend, Kunal, for Formula One. Formula One must survive this. It's huge.
It's huge, it's embarrassing, it's exciting. It also goes to show how agile Formula One can be. And what do I mean by agility, right? And what do you mean by this whole truth that's there? Oi, Sommers had an opening lap crash, like Oscar Piastri, if we may call it that.
Well, that wasn't part of the plan. That wasn't part of the plan. I realized bit too late that my head's not properly visible. So that's on me.
This is what Oscar Piastri felt when he was going out, turn four, hit the curb, exit line, 100 kilowatts of power surge through the systems, wheel spins around, he's in the wall. Luckily, you're not in the wall, Soumil. You continue on the live stream, unlike the last couple of times or two episodes ago when you couldn't. But what are we talking about? Why is this such a serious start? Why is Soumil having the Tau theory is being thrown at us? Because Formula One is actually considering changing their rules just after what we saw in Australia. Can and will Formula One survive China? That's going to be the key question. And what do we mean by survive, right? The Tifosi is here, Ankita Singh is here. Yes, we will talk to you guys. We will look at all the comments. But what do we mean by survive, right? Sawmill, the racing was good, but it was artificial in Australia, like all the fans are pointing out. Qualifying was a disaster. The fans felt entertained, but the Formula One drivers were saying this is not racing. Now, those very rules will come into play at a different circuit in a different country, 8,000 kilometers away from Melbourne. Nobody's ever talked about how long that distance is, how
That's a
much of
very long.
flying that is. But what do you think is going to happen this weekend? And crucially, after this weekend?
I think this weekend will be a big surprise to a lot of Formula One fans on how good battery deployment racing can genuinely be. I mean it. I mean it. I genuinely believe we will have an incredible race this weekend. Ask me why, Kunal.
Why?
Because we have seen this before at this very circuit with a similar philosophy, but a different high performance race car. It's called LMP1, Le Mans Prototypes 1 World Endurance Championship. Back in those days, and that's not too far away, 2014 to 2017, you used to have Audi, Porsche, and Toyota battle each other out for 6 hours at a time, sometimes even 24 hours at Le Mans, with very similar principles to what we have in Formula One: battery deployment. One person deploys battery at one place, the other person deploys it at the other. And Shanghai is a circuit where you've got lots of areas to harvest energy. Compared to Melbourne, it's a place with lots of, let's say, bigger braking zones. Let's put it that way. Lots of places where you can recover energy. It's on the highest level of energy limits or restrictions. harvesting
Harvesting. Yeah.
harvesting ability, for instance, for Formula One, 9 megajoules is the available harvestable potential of the battery this weekend. So it's the highest across any circuit band. So Melbourne, one of the worst circuits for energy harvesting. Shanghai, one of the better ones. In fact, the best one in that regard, among many others like Yas Marina and the likes. So this place should have good battery deployment and good places for you to recharge. So there will be some places like the back of the straight canal where that will still be a problem. But I'm very excited to see how drivers are able to deploy batteries in different places across the circuits and then create racing with it.
I really hope that's the case. Like you said, if we are going from a circuit where energy harvesting was the least possible to a circuit where energy harvesting will actually be easy. So F1's actually getting to test the 2026 rules at one of the worst circuits for the rules as well as one of the best circuits for the rules. And hopefully a summation and then an average of this is what we take forward for the next 22 races, assuming we have that. But not just that, if you take that these rules are going to be around for the next 3 years, that's a fair number of a quarter of a century of races as well. So I get a feeling we will see a different Formula One. But Somil, I cannot accept drivers running out of power on a qualifying lap, drivers not being on the edge on a qualifying lap. I'm okay to rewiring my brain around what overtaking will be in this new era, that you're running out of battery, you're charging it and you're running out of battery again. Fine, I may do that, but qualifying still has to be what we call on the edge, dancing on the edge of addition, limit, on the limit driving.
I agree with you. And that's what I'm curious about because theoretically, Shanghai should not be a problem in terms of having battery available at most points at the circuit, apart from the end of that very long straight. It's one of the longest in the season. I don't remember the exact number, but it's
1.
incredible.
1.3 kilometers long, yes.
Eh, Hence proven. Hence proven. It's one of the longest straights, and they will clearly be super clipping a lot. Now, for all of you who still aren't quite adept with the term super clipping, that's what happens when at the end of the straight, or rather at some point in the straight, you run out of battery, and so the engine stops accelerating at the same rate. It accelerates, but accelerates slower. So you may see the stop speed or the power sometimes drop off, or the revs drop off. We will definitely see that, Kunal. There's no denying, and it will is something that will create lots of viral clips. People will create debate and discourse on Twitter. People will talk about it. People will complain about it. But I don't care as long as the racing is good on Sunday. I don't.
Yeah, and as long as there are multiple changes for the lead and the podium positions, there are drivers going up and down, and maybe this is what new fans think of racing as,
Yeah.
right? Why don't we revisit and see it? So we are seeing it from a purist's point of view. What is our purist point of view? On the edge, on the limit, driving and qualifying, drivers making the difference in the race when it comes to overtaking. Maybe a new fan sees it differently.
Yeah.
Maybe a new fan is like, and are these barriers that Formula One's trying to break? And what are the barriers? Because I walk into a room, I'm able to say, yeah, Leclerc actually made that overtake because he went on the brakes 5 meters later. But also the Ferrari rotates better in slower corners. And then everyone just looks at me saying, how do you know all this? And B, do these
Or
things
what
even,
even is rotation, or
yeah,
what even is like late braking, or what even is trail break. They don't care. Like for a
and
lot of our new Formula One fans, they just don't care. They want to know who's better, who's a better driver, who's faster, and they want it simple, which is fine. Like I think that's great, if anything.
exactly. And I'm glad F1 is trying to simplify that. There is no longer a conversation on who brake later. Did you turn in earlier, turn in later? Fine, let's leave that for the purists. That's
Let's
fine.
leave that for GT3. Let's leave that for IndyCar. Let's leave that for V8 supercars, or all the other beautiful championships in the world of motorsport, which you should, by the way, watch if you love your motorsport. Don't restrict yourself to Formula One. But maybe this is what it is, Kunal. Maybe Formula One is changing, and we may not like it. It's just sign of the times, right?
Is that so? Should it be like that? Should it be that the sport ends up simplifying itself to the extent that it alienates the purists? Or should the sport work harder in
No.
bringing the newer fans closer and deeper into the sport? We don't know.
Now
We're,
that's where I want to start a debate on this. Formula One is not motorsport. Or let me rephrase this: Formula One is not the only motorsport. When we say should the sport simplify itself, we mean should this championship that makes up the pinnacle of motorsport simplify itself. It's not motorsport. It's not the only thing in racing. It's just one championship among a lot of championships in motorsport. It
but Formula One's viewership beats the sum of all other motorsport series being viewed as well. So for a lot of people, and you're right, Formula One is a series. I think even Fernando Alonso said, I've had 100 plus podiums in this series, in this category. But given the size, the mammoth fan base, Formula One is considered and often spoken of as motorsport itself. Motorsport's equal to Formula One,
No,
Formula One
it's
equal to
not.
motorsport.
It
Even
will
if you and
never
I,
be. It will never be. I'm sorry, it will never be. If you think Formula One is motorsport, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry for you. Like, go watch something else. Like, watch
but
cars or something.
going back to my point, in that room, people would look at me, A, saying, "What are these terms?" and B, "Why do you only know these terms?" And that to me is the barrier to break. It shouldn't be just me knowing those terms. Again, just talking of that room example, fans should be able to talk of overtakes in the regular parlance. And yes, we are calling it like, high speed passes that we have on the motorway, but motorway, right? Like we saw in Australia, people are saying that it's like what I would do on the motorway when I'm driving a road car. But that is also the easiest way to explain to new fans that you're driving fast on a motorway in your lane and you're overtaking a car who's going slower for whatever reason. Same thing's happening in Formula One. I am not entirely convinced, but that's what seems to be happening. Going to take a few comments. Let's just break this down. Tifosi saying will be a disgrace to see cars slowing down on that amazing long straight. Yes, it will be a disgrace, but that's what will happen. Also, we've got to remember, Soumil pointed out there is 9 megajoules of battery harvesting available per lap in qualifying. And why is this different? Is because in Australia, we had just 7 megajoules. So they will have 2 megajoules extra battery that they can harvest and then can use over a lap. And typically, a long straight takes about 3 to 3.5 megajoules itself. So while you're going to be running out of battery and recharging it, that long straight, because it is being followed by a series of sweeping bends, medium speed corners, at least right now the teams are estimating that they will and they should have enough battery to enter, hopefully not the longest super clipping stage, Somil.
I think it will be. I think it will be. Like, let's just put it out there. People will be depressed looking at the car slow down at the straight. They will be. It is going to happen. Accept it. Accept it. It just is what it is. Now, ask yourself why Formula One has made this regulation change. Why have we done this? The end goal is just a better race on a Sunday. So even if we do have super clipping, fine. But hey, we could see an interesting situation, Kunal, where cars pass and repass each other with a straight so long. Because you could start by following in someone's slipstream, deploying battery to get ahead, but then the other car is able to save up their battery from, I'm assuming they would have some before, then they're able to deploy it. All of this while in a straight. So you could see cars swapping around each other in a straight line before they then get to the braking zone. Or you could see differences in how they super clip or how well they are able to deploy battery back while they're super clipping, which is reaching basically super. You guys know super clipping by now. Come on, I'm not going to explain it one more time. But yeah, that could happen as well. So it's going to be a very interesting scenario, and cars swapping around in different places. Like, I imagine the turn 1 to 4 section, the jalebi or the mosquito coil, as I love to call it. So many cars are going to be closer here. Esteban Ocon says he loves the new cars. They feel a lot like 2016 cars. And remember the racing in 2016? Top tier.
Yes, but do you think Formula One should change the rules, Somil, or should they persist with these rules?
Give it a try. Like, there will be noise always. Give it a try. Like,
So
work
you
down
mean
for,
you mean to say stick to these rules till the end of the season? Is that where you're going?
yeah, give it a try. Like, okay, under what circumstances, Kunal, should Formula One feel the need to change the regulations? What would you have to see in China for Formula One to decide, right, this isn't working?
That's a very good question. I have 2 points I would look at. First is a qualifying lap. Is it a full beans lap driven in anger, or are drivers just running out of battery because of which they're not going on the limit? And that's why we have single lap qualifying. That's why we have single lap pace. That's why we've got drivers like Leclerc and Behrman and Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton who have all been there because of their qualifying prowess. If you're not going to have cars that go on the edge, how will the future crop of drivers ever be known as qualifying specialists? Are you a qualifying specialist because you just managed your battery better? or are you a qualifying specialist because you went 2 kilometers per hour quicker on the apex, something nobody else could do on the grid? So that's one part. The second part where I think a change should be engineered is overtaking. Why is overtaking now, the very fact that there's an overdose of overtaking, why is that becoming a problem? Okay, to me, this is the way I see it. Overtaking has always been about the driver, how strong the driver is on the brakes, at turn in and exit, at lines, and whatever else. But it's always been about driver ability. When the DRS came in, it became less about ability, it became more about entitlement. I'm 1 second behind you, I've got a free push to pass, I'm going to open, drop all the drag, and zip past you, right? What has happened even more so now, at least based on the sample size of one for me, Soumil, which is Australia, is we've taken away the driver ability even more from overtaking. Okay, should that be the case? If that continues in China, then yes, they need to bring the driver ability back. Imagine you're going on a Saturday, battery is deciding how fast you go. You come on a Sunday, you decide battery is deciding if you are able to attack or defend or get overtaken.
But this is where you're actually extracting a lot of really deep, dark opinions in my head, because in my head, this beauty of Formula One has already died like a long time ago. Like it's already, let's get our let's face it. It is now a show. It is not the pinnacle of motorsport as we know it. Because the moment the DRS came in, and the moment everything around, and all the, one may label it as gimmicks, I call it tech and assists and aids, whatever connotation you attach, it's just not the same. It's not the pure motorsport that we all grew up watching. Is that great? For some it may not be. I just say watch other motorsport if you don't like it, which is great. Like, ultimately we want the sport to grow. A healthy motorsport ecosystem is better for everyone. It's just
But
sad that Formula One has to face the brunt of it. But then maybe I see, Kunal, maybe this is the way, as you mentioned, for Formula One to branch out. And I, I think we can go on and on about this. Do you want to
yes.
add something else to this as well?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we keep saying ecosystem, but we've got to remember, and this comment I'm going to pull up from Sarika. Come on, give the teams at least 2 seasons to experiment, analyze, and develop around the regulations. Unfortunately, Sarika, what will happen is if we stay for 2 seasons, which is almost 50 races, we will stand to lose a very strong fan base.
Yeah.
People will walk away. Even worse, the world champion drivers on the grid will continue to make a lot of noise about how trashy it is to drive these cars. And that is not good to grow the fan base, is not good to command higher race hosting fees, broadcasting fees. Liberty Media is a stock listed company in the USA. So everything Max Verstappen says and keeps saying and keeps getting amplified. I don't think Formula One can wait on it for 2 years before making a change. They are seeing their on track product suffer. The beauty is, between all the teams, between the FI and FOM, they have the right interests for the sport, and hence they are agile enough to make changes when they see them to be made.
A question on this: do the drivers matter more, or is the sport now bigger than that?
I think
Like,
the drivers matter, Somal.
like
If
no,
if Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Leclerc, Alonso were to leave Formula One, who are you going to come to watch? The Lindblads, the Bortoletos, the Colapintos? The best drivers will need to have Formula One as an aspiration because they're the fastest cars, because your skill is tested the most. Are skills being tested the most
or are
in
they
this era
bound to
of
it, Kunal? Like, just, sorry to butt in, but like, are they? Where else will they go?
you think
Where else will they go?
Max has already made his move in GT. He's launched his own GT racing team.
Max is
Fernando
Max.
Alonso's gone to WEC and come back. Lewis Hamilton can go to a fashion show. He can make his own music. Leclerc is an ice cream seller already. Formula One needs the heroes. You don't tune into Formula One to watch Ferrari versus Mercedes. You come in to watch Hamilton versus Russell, which is hopefully what we get in China.
Yeah, it's a really, it's an existential thing for Formula One. It's an existential
That's
thing, and
that's perfect.
they they will get it right. they will get it right, and we've faced this before. We'll get through it.
Yeah.
But it just needs the right people to be listening, which Formula One have, and China is going to be very interesting. Let's just hope there's better racing, and you're right, Kunal. Qualifying is going to be the main thing. More comments, by the way. A lot of people have been engaging, so
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining us. And we've discussed this for 20 minutes, and we did 30 minutes of preparation to talk about all the other big stories about the drivers, about the teams. But then Kunal and I get so passionate, and uh, we
Yes.
forget.
And the Tifosi is saying, these are the drivers who made us fall in love with Formula One, and we are both not happy. Good point. He's also saying, I don't want them to change at all, but they could definitely improve what they already have. Yes, of course. Sovic is here, one of our oldest patrons. Thank you. Will Alonso win if we change the rules?
That's what we're looking for now. Now
That
that's what we're looking for.
absolutely. And there is an interesting comment. Max Verstappen said he's ditched his simulator and he's using Mario Kart and Nintendo to
That is the
practice.
comment of the day.
That is the comment of the year, Samuel. This will make it to our awards episode in itself. Can you imagine that the Ferrari actually on their Twitter, at least I see it on Twitter, have installed Mario Kart on Charles Leclerc's steering wheel on his dash. The teams, the drivers are trolling Formula One and the rules that are there. Can you imagine? That's how annoyed they must be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we should move on. There are two races, two qualifying sessions this race weekend. Like Ankita said, looking forward to Shanghai, four competitive sessions. Um,
And also only one practice session.
yeah,
So if you bin it, there's going to be even bigger repercussions, because in a normal sprint weekend, in a normal traditional regulation cycle, if you bin it in practice, you still have some historical data and some simulator references. This is uncharted territory. You cannot afford to crash in practice or have any technical issues. You will be on the back foot. It's like you'll be in Beijing when the rest of the grid will be in Shanghai. It's going to be tough.
and it's no longer only about setup. It's primarily about battery management, energy management. Where are you going to harvest? Where are you going to deploy? Where are you going to harvest? Where are you going to deploy? And uh, like you mentioned at the start of the show, Somil, Albert Park at 7 megajoules recovery. Shanghai has 9 megajoules recovery. Who decides this? And why is it so variable? And I love that because the FIA is what is the governing body that decides what the recovery per lap will be. And why do they do that? Is so that Formula One cars can be at their absolute best and fastest depending on the circuit characteristics. And I think that is a great accommodative view to have in this rule era of Formula One. But we are going to go to China. What are your views on the Shanghai International Circuit? Because the drivers say they love it. I love it. It's like two big straights with a lot of Mickey Mouse stuff and then a lot of medium speed corners. I love the corner that gets onto the back straight. It's a banked corner again. The jalebi, as you said, the turns 1 to 3 sequence. Very, very interesting stuff. The drivers love it. Why is the circuit not hyped enough? Is it because it's made in China? Because I don't
I think
know.
there's a disconnect, no, Kunal. It's just a language barrier. And by the way, this is like a huge anchor in Asian motorsport, the Shanghai International Circuit. You've got Porsche Cup cars, Chinese Formula 4, Asian Le Mans, World Endurance Championship. Lots of motorsport that happens here. It's an incredible facility that gets used a lot. Even Formula E came here, I think, very recently. So it's a great circuit. It was multi-purpose, incredible for racing, as you mentioned. I remember Vettel versus Kvyat as one of the key incidents from 2016 when Kvyat came in like a torpedo, and then that was an incredible race. Even Michael crashing on the way to the grid, and 2019 had a really good race as well. It's a great circuit that way. It's not hyped enough, but I think it's a language barrier thing. Just because we don't speak Chinese, we don't get the PR of this circuit on our feeds. Like it's it's just that I feel. But China is a huge market.
Yes, it is. But
BYD.
I don't think it's only because of Chinese. I think it's that stigma of made in China because
Yeah.
suddenly it's a Hockenheim and a Nürburgring and a Suzuka made in Germany, made in Japan, and now even the Las Vegas made in America. I just think because it's made in China, it's not spoken about as much,
I agree.
and maybe because it's outside of Europe, but it definitely deserves its deserves all the compliments as the drivers give them, as the fans give them. Johan is here. Greetings from the Netherlands. Love your podcast, guys. Thank you very much. It's always lovely to have people on the show. And since you mentioned some memories that you've had about history of Formula One from China, of course, this is the 19th race in China. Can you believe it? 19th race already.
Wow.
The first 7 Chinese Grand Prix were won by 7 different drivers. That's one point. This is the venue of Red Bull Racing's first ever win in 2009, first
Nine.
ever pole,
Sebastian Vettel. Yes.
and the 100th pole as well. This was where Formula One had the F1 1000th race as well. Mercedes' first
Good.
win on return in Formula One and pole was 2012 in China, courtesy of Nico
Nico
Rosberg.
Rosberg.
And you mentioned Michael Schumacher, and of course, his 91st and last Formula One win was also in China, 2006.
Yes. And this was also where Lewis Hamilton drove into the McLaren pit box as a Mercedes driver in his first year of coming here.
And wasn't he beached here as well in the pit lane in
Oh,
China?
2007. Oh, we do not talk about that. Shh, we do not talk about that. If you know, you know.
But since we are
Wow.
going to have 2 qualifying sessions, here's something fun. 6 different drivers have been on pole in the last 6 races at the Shanghai International Circuit. Will we have a seventh this race weekend? We're going to look out for that.
Very interesting comment from Sarika on in the meantime. She says everyone needs to calm down. FIA will find a way to keep Max Verstappen Lewis happy as long as possible while popularity matters. The sport has always evolved on its own terms. The public is for F1. F1 is not for the public. And there's another interesting comment from the Tifosi 05, and this is what we should pivot to because we have spoken a lot about Formula One's existential threat and why we need a good race and the importance of a good qualifying and how the racing dynamics can be and why we love the circuit. But what are we actually going to see on track when the buck stops? We're going to see battling. We're going to see a fight between Mercedes and hopefully three other teams: McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull Racing. And the Tifosi 05 has a really good comment on that. He says Ferrari can't mess up that one practice session because I heard they will be trying the Macarena wing, so no room for error. No, okay, so we did this for Flappy Wings.
We
What
do
are we doing for
that.
Macarena Wings?
That.
Hey, Macarena. Is it like this? I think we're going to get a big myth debunked at the Chinese Grand Prix. And that is the Macarena wing seriously effective? Like, there's a whole stream of aerodynamicists now, Kunal, everywhere on Twitter and Instagram, everyone talking about the effect that the Macarena wing generates. But I just like, let's see. Let's see. Like, we'll, we'll find out.
we
What do you reckon? What do you reckon will happen to Ferrari this weekend?
I think they're going to win this weekend without
Oof.
a doubt. They have had the most podiums along with Mercedes, 13 podiums out here. Lewis Hamilton has been supremely dominant out here when he's had the car. Let's remember, can Ferrari remain in the fight with Mercedes? Can their pit wall actually stand up to it? And I love these innovations. They've got wing deflectors on the halo as well. Which team has brought so many visual innovations to a Formula One car in 2026 as Ferrari have only in the last 4 competitive sessions that we've had, literally.
No, I don't think anyone. I think Ferrari at least have been trying. So you've got to give it to them for that. But the one thing you really wish to see this weekend, Kunal. Actually, let's rephrase this. Let's ask this question in an even more pointed manner. What's the one battle you're really excited to see at the Chinese GP?
Russell versus Hamilton. That's the one battle I want to see. When Russell came into Mercedes, he matched Lewis Hamilton. He beat Lewis Hamilton, but that was also Lewis Hamilton not comfortable in that ground effect era. Now, if they both have fast cars, how will they stack up? How will they match each other? And then, of course, the Ferrari drivers on track versus the Ferrari pit wall as well. The strategic calls that they're going to make. Will they continue to get it right or not? And Uttara has already asked our admin, saying, "What are your sprint predictions for the weekend?" Keep putting them down in the comments. We'll take them. But another story that we will see develop, actually, two stories I believe that we will see develop is firstly, Toto Wolff bidding for shares in Alpine just to keep Christian Horner away. And I think that is a beautiful way to use money to solve your problems, especially when you have so much of it, right? But the second is what you were almost going to say, which is BYD, the Chinese electric car manufacturer, wanting to get into motorsport with an aim to become the 12th team in Formula One. Now, the FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, has already said that he would love to have a 12th team, which is Chinese, because the 11th team is American. What I get really pissed about here is that when we had 10 teams in Formula One, we already had an Indian racing team there,
Exactly.
which unfortunately just did not survive.
Exactly. Exactly, man. And Kunal was working on it. He was a part of the Force India team, like in depth, proper in the golden years. So, well, are we going to have an Iranian team as team number 13? Are we going to have, I don't know, since we have two American teams now, they're going to field an Israeli team together. I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't know, man. You could.
And I know we don't talk geopolitics and wars and the conflict situations, right? There's a funny one. Tifosi saying BYD actually accidentally sent the email to Formula One instead of Formula E. But actually, that's a great point. I'd be worried if an electric car manufacturer wants to race in Formula One and not Formula E, because Formula E has also said that Formula One's biggest problem is that they're trying to be Formula E from
Yeah.
2026. Are we sending out the wrong signals? Are we saying, guys, sooner and sooner we will become fully electric? I don't know.
I it's weird. I think auto manufacturers are whack. Like at this moment, the auto industry is just so confused. It's so confused about what it really is and what it wants to be. It's just in an energy dilemma. I agree with Jeremy Clarkson. Just give me V12s, V10s, and V8s, and sustainable fuel and whatever. But well, man can only dream. But it's very interesting. BYD wanting to come in is great. It shows that motorsport still has a lot of relevance for auto brands, and there is a sign of intent. And also, not just BYD, bigger brands are getting involved too. Like Mickey and Minnie Mouse are going to be at the Chinese GP this weekend. There's a
Wow.
there's a Disney World nearby, and they're activating it by sending Mickey and Minnie to Formula One. They did a photo shoot with the Formula One car at the Shanghai International Circuit. That's so cool, right? I grew up with, and this counts for Kunal as well. We're part of the so-called old generation, even though I'm 22 and Kunal's in his 30s. But we sort of grew up to watch brands and champagnes and tech companies and all your
Alcohol and nicotine and all of those companies.
exactly. But to see Kit Kat, to see Disney, to see uh, all your energy drinks and beverages companies double down, to see more tech companies, to see AI based companies, TWG by the way being one of them, to see like people like CrowdStrike and many others as well join in. Like there's a crypto boom in the middle that's gone, but there's so many now sustainable industries pouring in money into Formula One and seeing it as a viable marketing tool. That just makes the regulations even more important because Formula One cannot afford to fail now. There's a lot of real money in it. Like
That is precisely why the F1 2026 rules will be continued to be relooked at after every Grand Prix this season. And I know you mentioned an Iranian team, an Israeli team, and I just have one thing to say. Yes, there's a war going on in lots of places in the world. We should just rally all the leaders of the world and say, guys, stop with
yeah,
all the arms and ammunitions, just build race cars and let's settle it on the racetrack the good old way, because that's what we used to do. That's how motorsport was used as a platform to showcase your nation's superiority back in the 40s and 50s. And let's just do that.
yeah, exactly. Put in like, and genuinely, it's not a bad idea because look at what sort of technologies you'll be able to develop. It could be insane. You could find hydrogen race cars versus electric race cars versus petrol based race cars. Give me racing. Like, show me who's faster. That is Formula One to me. Formula One to me is not everyone with the same technology. Formula One to me is different technologies coming together and creating the best racing. I don't care if it's petrol, hybrid, whatever. Like,
Which is where the pivot is going to come, that everyone's going to have the Macarena wing and everyone should get the Mercedes engine along with the Mercedes engine mapping out there. But
oh
before we do that,
yeah.
Sadhna's actually asked, has Porsche entirely left the chat then? Yes, unfortunately they seem to have. They've taken their money and I think they've been banished away from the paddock because nobody was
Oh.
interested in taking their money. But let's go back to what I said, because
You know what they've done, sorry, Kunal, on that?
go
They've
for it.
doubled down on Formula E. Porsche are having two manufacturer teams in Formula
Yes.
E. It's very interesting.
So,
Yeah.
talking of manufacturer teams, Mercedes is being blamed of playing foul by their customers. In the preseason, they said Mercedes has become very collaborative. We're growing with them. We're a customer team. And now, just after the first race in Australia, Williams and McLaren have both spoken up against Mercedes holding back data on what's the best way to use power unit information when it comes to deploying and harvesting energy. And this is what we call as an engine map. A map engine map is around the map of the Shanghai International Circuit, for example. Where would you, what settings would you use when it came to deploying and harvesting energy and so on? Hence, what's the most optimum state of use that you could plan for. Now, while Mercedes gives power units to McLaren have their own power unit engineers who are supposed to work on them. But that process has now found limitations, something that didn't exist in the previous era of Formula One. So, yet another reason why I believe there needs to be a tweak in the rules to make sure that Mercedes is also able to share engine maps, or should be sharing engine maps with their customer teams. Otherwise, it's just one of those works teams advantages which will never be overcome, even if you had a chassis advantage in Formula One.
But I don't agree with you. Why would I, if I'm Mercedes, share that? Like, by the rule, they're meant to have identical engine maps by the first race of the season. But Mercedes didn't share their own engine maps that they were developing with their customer team. So they got a certain spec or a certain type of engine map, but Mercedes kept on building. And obviously, because it's their own engine, they know more and they're able to package it better. So inevitably, Mercedes have started on the front foot. And you also saw this. You will always see this at the start of a regulation cycle. The manufacturers will always be ahead because they tend to have an inherent advantage of knowing their own technology. And by the later part of the regulation cycle, other teams can catch up. Case in point, McLaren in the 2022-2025 era. But in this case, I don't think Mercedes are wrong by the law, right? Like, the law says you
Yeah.
need to have identical engine maps for the first race. They said, yeah, fine, take the identical engine maps for the first race. We gave it to you.
No,
It's, I
it is
mean,
by the law, but is it by the spirit?
who
Right?
cares about the spirit?
Well,
Like, it's
wouldn't you? I mean, if we are able to get more cars competitive, imagine McLaren builds the best chassis ever, which we know they did. But they're saying, but the engine at the back, we're just unable to get more out of it because Mercedes is hiding information from us. Technically, not in the right spirit. But anyway, we'll see. That story will.
you see, this is so interesting because in cricket, there's always a big spirit of the game kind of debate, right? Like, is appealing certain situations in the spirit of the game, but the spirit of the game is the law. Like, the law is what it is. Isn't that life, Kunal? Like, we could have a whole 40-minute chat about about this whole scenario. Like,
We
law is
could.
life, life is law. Like, it's
Which, which is why we have more debates to go on to. Race starts. Are they safe? What's your view?
ooh.
Wow.
It,
Sorry, your turbo spinning. I can hear it. Yeah.
yeah, it was almost gnarly, right, at the start of Melbourne. It could have probably been one of the worst accidents you see in the sport. And by the way, if all of you are saying it's just a car ramming into the back of the other person, Formula One cars are safe enough. Well, I think in 1982, at the start of the Canadian Grand Prix, one of the drivers, rest in peace, a beautiful soul, I forgot his name, though, but he passed away with a very similar accident where a car, you have a start issue, someone rams into the back of you, and then I know we have the hands now, we didn't have it back then, but you can have like serious stuff. Formula One has deliberately tried to evolve away and tried to make starts safer because a crash where you're hitting someone at the back could be dangerous in so
A
many ways.
stationary car,
A
that too.
stationary car, that too, yeah.
Starts have always been dangerous, right? What do I mean by that? You could always have had a car stalling, clutch issue, power unit issue, whatever issue, right? But have the new rules increase the chance of somebody stalling on the grid, increase the chance of somebody having a slow getaway? And that's mainly the question. And yes, of course, it is a safety issue. And Ferrari are standing by what they've decided. They are saying we are not going to allow for a safety a rule change based on safety, because guys, we were the ones telling you last year that this is going to be a problem. We were the ones who built a car to make sure we don't have the problem. Again, what is fair, what is within the law, what is within the spirit of the rules as well, this is where a lot of the heart and the emotion comes in. But I hope Formula One, like they found a way on the compression ratio gate, find a way on the race start gate as well, including the engine map gate, if I may call it that.
Can you imagine the politicking happening behind the scenes in Formula One now, Kunal? Like,
Indeed.
can
and
you
and
imagine?
a Formula One team principal spends 30 to 40% of the time just in these meetings, making sure that there is current affairs alignment, there is future affairs alignment, while also saving their job from the senior management above when the team is not performing, while making sure that they are recruiting and having all the right people in the right places. And yeah, exciting stuff. And uh, just on the engine mapping stuff, the Tifosi has a point saying it's very strange when the Tifosi is talking of Mercedes, but with all due respect, Mercedes are here to win by all means and not help others, just to be fair. Fair point. We just have to see what the outcome of this story is going to be as well, right? Uh, what else do we have, Soumil?
Drivers to watch for this weekend. Can I go first?
Go for it.
Oscar Piastri. Now, a lot
Yes.
of you will point out and say he won at Shanghai last year, but does last year even matter? It's a fresh start. It's literally his
Complete
start of.
reset.
Exactly. It's literally the first race of 2026 for him.
Yes, it's the first race of the 2026 season for him and for Nico Hulkenberg. And I will pick Max Verstappen as the driver to watch out for, because he did not have a qualifying and he did have a recovery race. And typically, when that happens, we enjoy his recovery race. And basically, that means that in the last 5 races, Max has had 2 recovery drives. I think one was Brazil and the last one was Australia, and all the other times he was, I'm pretty sure, on the podium as well. So when was the last time Max Verstappen had 2 recovery drives in the last 5 races? But I'm also looking forward to teams getting all the teams and drivers getting better. Pretty much no one had their batteries in place for the race start itself. And like this comment points out again from the Tifosi, maybe they can do 2 formation laps. Many drivers complained they did not have any battery out there. And I am pivoting, but Sadhna saying, let's be real, cars have always helped overtaking. Every regulation era gives drivers a new weapon. So pretending drivers suddenly don't need skill to pass is just nonsense. Unfortunately, Sadhna, that's what the drivers are saying, that anyone could have made that pass because I was actually not racing, I was harvesting energy. Let's see how it all develops this weekend, because we will have more vocal drivers, we will have more opinions, and we should end in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So let's see what we've got, Somal.
Comments. The Tifosi 05 says, Esteban Ocon, please. He was my second driver to watch this weekend. Yeah, it's going to be fun, no, Kunal? Because Ocon had a good Q1, Q2. Behrman outqualified him in Q3, and then Behrman just went on to have a better race. But Ocon's very excited. Any other midfield drivers that excite you?
Arvid Lindblad,
Oh,
definitely.
yes.
The kind of debut he's had, he was very to the point. I would say not a single drop of emotion seen, good or bad. How does he cope up with one practice session? How does he swim? Because he's definitely had a very strong showing as well. But also crucially, what can Ferrari and Red Bull do to stop Mercedes from winning? Will George Russell continue to have clean weekends? Will not Raikkonen, will Kimi Antonelli rise up to the challenge? Because Kimi Antonelli was fast tracked into Formula One, saying, "Here's the next Max Verstappen." Now, if he is the next Max Verstappen and he is in a car which is destined to be the world championship winning car this year, when will he actually stand up and say, "I am the next Max Verstappen, and George Russell, here's your place. I will take the number one spot on
Yeah.
the grid, at the flag, and in Mercedes"?
Yeah, that's so true. And that makes me wonder, George Russell could soon become underrated because people will say that Russell's had an easy way. George Russell's had it easy because his car was the best and everything was perfect. But he beat his teammate and he deployed his battery better. The data clearly shows that. He was able to do something that his teammate was not, and he was 3 tenths faster in the same chassis. And he was racy, he was competitive. So I'm very excited to see.
And
We
is
should.
this the best version of George Russell? And if this is the best version, how many fewer mistakes will he continue to make through the season? Remember, he's actually tagged the wall in Singapore. He's had issues, but last year he was flawless. And I'd love to see how
Last two,
this.
no, Kunal, not just
Yeah,
last.
2024 Singapore is when he hit. Anyway, last 2 years maybe he's been flawless.
Was it
Uh,
23 or 24? I don't recollect it. It is,
eh,
yeah,
he's been flawless. Let's agree on that, like you do. Whether it's 1 or 2 seasons, yes. And if this is the best version of George Russell, who who will actually be able to stand up to him and battle him there, because there will be battles. And since you mentioned Antonelli, actually he just needs a clean weekend. Mercedes's dominance is visible because Antonelli crashed in FP3, got out in qualifying without a setup, got into Q3, got P2, finished P2. What can he do if he when he has a clean weekend, when he takes that pressure away from himself? That's another story that I'm looking for, much like Red Bull Racing also then having a clean weekend, because they had power unit
yeah.
failures, with Isaac Hadjar. Max Verstappen had, software issues or whatever you call it, and so on. So lots of narratives, top, middle, and the bottom. And will Audi continue to score points? What a beautiful story that's turning out to be, Somal.
Oh, yeah. And China is a big market for Audi. If Audi do well here, it's good. It is really good. Let's not forget, at the core of motorsport, it is still, in essence, race on Sunday, sell on Monday. So Audi, this is what Audi came for in Formula One, to do well at places like Shanghai. Fun times. Predictions, Kunal. Who wins? Actually, no. Predictions. Who gets pole?
I think it's difficult to look away from the Mercedes cars. It'll be George Russell on pole for sprint qualifying and for the Grand Prix qualifying. Remember, Shanghai is actually cooler than Australia was. FP1 is 3 to
Oh,
15 degrees. Saturday, again, 5 to 17 degrees, gusts possible, mild winds. And Sunday, it's about 18 to 19 degrees. So the weekend gets warmer as well. But Mercedes traditionally have always had a car that's done well in cooler conditions, as you would well remember as well, Sommel. So
yeah.
my bet for qualifying is definitely the Mercedes cars. And can Kimi Antonelli get there? That's going to be my question.
We actually should understand why Mercedes are better when it's cooler, and also why is it continuing in new generation. It'll be very, very interesting case study to.
That is if it's continuing, right? Because we
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
what.
if it's, yeah,
No,
let's
Russell
see.
said it did,
What
and
is it?
that's what I was wondering. He said after Melbourne, I think it was qualifying a race in a post interview. He said, and we generally perform better when it's cooler, and I was just like, George, seriously,
I
like,
think he was just
like
putting it in for PR purposes,
that,
because nobody knows, right?
that's what
Although
like
in Barcelona when they were there, it was cooler, but we don't know. Okay, let's see. Who are you picking for
exactly.
pole and sprint pole?
I will follow my heart. I will do what Rishabh has now commented. Ferrari. I am going to say Hamilton because he has done really well at this circuit and he's feeling it. He's enjoying it. And I think at this moment he's more excited about a Macarena wing than Kim. So, if and an excited Lewis Hamilton is a fast Lewis Hamilton. I say Hamilton is getting pole. is getting closer.
I was disappointed Kim Kardashian wasn't in Australia. Will she be in China? That's gonna be what to watch out for.
That'll be that. That should be a carousal post in itself. That should be a magazine story. Kim Kardashian in China, like that'll be. It's it'll be incredible.
But
My
sprint
God.
race win. Who do you think is getting it?
Uh, Sprint race win Lewis Hamilton. I think he's feeling it. He's gonna outduel everyone. That's what my heart says.
And the Grand Prix race win.
George Russell.
I will go with George Russell on the podium for the Grand Prix weekend, but Charles Leclerc for the race win. And
Ooh,
sprint win, I will also pick a Lewis Hamilton. I think they're going to be up there. And
we're
I
manifesting
was
it.
hoping it's a Mercedes 1-2. I mean, it could still be because Mercedes has not recorded a back-to-back 1-2 finish since Imola and Portugal 2020. I mean, Mercedes was dominating till just like yesterday, right? And if you look at all their stats, Mercedes has three 1-2 finishes and three front row lockouts in China since 2014. Okay. From 2012 to 2019, Mercedes has won six out of eight races in China, six straight poles in China from 2012 to 17, and four straight wins from 14 to 17. So Mercedes has to be taken very, very seriously, as is Lewis Hamilton for that
The,
shawarma wing that he's
the
got. But
shawarma wing?
have you not seen that? There's that. I think it's F1 troll that's put it up there, right?
What's that
Like
shawarma wing all? Shawarma wing comes. What's this all about? Like,
I'm going to send you the meme that because the wing is moving, you have in my case at least tofu attached to the wing, and because the engine is anyway giving out heat by moving the food on the wing, you're actually barbecuing it or whatever.
oh
Anyway,
God, what is going on, man? There's so much. There's so much. Uh, One last question, because Rishabh's been very kind and he's asked that question. Let's just answer it. And thank you for joining us, Rishabh, the Defocio 5, Sadhna. Uh, just a few names I can remember. Johan was there in this episode as well. Sarika was there, as always, at Moonlight Guidance as well. Shovik was there. Rakapidu. It's been an incredible episode. Thank
Ankita
you.
was here as well.
Ankita was here as well. What do you think about the new engine of Ferrari? Learned this is their transactional engine.
Because of the fact that new ways of measuring compression ratios are coming in. I think it's pretty awesome, right? Ferrari's built an engine which is right up there itself. Everyone's going to learn how to harvest and deploy more energy. That's what's eventually going to come out. But I wouldn't say, the ghosts of 2014, where Mercedes was so far ahead and everyone else was catching up. We've not seen anything as such apart from Honda um, that we should be worried about.
We didn't even give airtime to Honda and we did 53 minutes. Guys, this can be a 2 hour episode. If you feel this should be a 2 hour episode, this episode will end now and it will soon become a video on YouTube. Your job is to comment, we want a 2 hour stream. 10 comments, we'll make it happen. We should. It's a good number. It's fair enough. We can take out that time though. We should actually do that after qualifying. Let's see. Let's give it a shot. Let's see whatever happens. It'll be fun. Kunal's now wondering where will we find 2 hours in our time already from, because we're both already struggling to make our ends meet in terms of
Somil,
time
when do
away.
you have MotoGP again? Just so I know.
Next week.
Exactly. On that note, Bharat has got. What's your take on Formula One hiding fan comments on the overtake post after Australian Grand Prix? From what I read, they were not hiding genuine comments. They were hiding comments with profanity in them, which I think is fine. That's what I remember reading in the community notes. Rishabh is here saying we want a 2 hour stream, and Tifosi saying I still don't believe the 1 second gap that Russell pulled in qualifying. I think others got unlucky. Mark my words, we've still not seen what dominance and what power output that Mercedes is capable of in qualifying and in the race. Because in qualifying, they were not on full beans, and in the race, they turned everything down when they had free air and clean 1-2. Will this be the race where they actually are forced to put everything on the table, Soumil? That's going to be another story to look out for.
So much to watch for. Watch us live on F1 in Hindi on Fan Code. That happens this Sunday, I think 12:30 p.m. So 12:25, make sure you join us. It'll be Kunal, myself, and our dear friend Chetan Narula. It'll be fun. Make sure you're watching. It'll be very, very, very interesting to watch Chinese GP. And you can anyway watch it for your regional broadcaster, but because a lot of you are from India, make sure you're watching on Fan Code throughout the entire weekend. Should be a lot of fun. But take care, guys. Time for us to say goodbye and good night.